but just mostly I just want to see you get better, you know. It just makes me sad when you're not well. And I know I can help, so. And I know I know you're doing a lot of good in your life. I know you, and I know you're really trying to please God and help people, and you care about people, you know. Okay, so I want to find that, like, I know this is going to be intense, so I want to establish that intensity that you can kind of deal with. How's that?
There.
Right there? So I'm going to get you to breathe into that. Okay, and I'll just ease off and let you catch your breath.
Is that coming off, like, when you're doing that for a reason, obviously?
Yeah.
Because you're feeling, but as soon as you're like...
It's a combination of, sometimes I pick up a little bit, even with tools, I pick up a bit through my hands. The second one is I'm actually quite intensely focused. I'm not just sort of randomly pushing that. I'm very focused when I'm doing it. And then I need to sort of stop and breathe too, just because the level, it requires quite a lot of mental intensity to focus on getting that right pressure.
What you're doing.
I'm very present, and I can only, if I don't, I need a little break. That level of presence that's required, to be with a person sometimes, you need a little break too. It's kind of why, like in Australia, I've got my guard, and if I've been teaching for a couple of weeks, I kind of like really need that break from people,
Getting out in the soil.
Yeah.
Getting your hand, grounding you in a different way,
and just also relating to different life forms, because so much of my work is with people, and I'm both the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, and it's just sometimes nice to be with other forms of life as well, and just marvel at the, like when there's a dragon fruit flower coming on, or a passion fruit flower, and you're just marveling at the beauty of nature. Yeah. I definitely I think being in that awe and reverence frame of mind when it comes to nature, of just, wow. Just more like, because with modern science, they often try and put their minds above nature and kind of go, well, this is what, And I think, to a certain extent, obviously science has its place, and, we got to analyze things, but we always have to maintain that humility to realize we're part of it all, Yeah. Part of the web of life, and part of that, and our minds are a small part of that holistic reality, or whatever you want to call it, and they cannot actually take and understand the entirety of it all, You could obviously look at a cell in a microscope and, figure out electrons, but you can't get the whole picture, But the beauty of a flower, or the beauty of see, that's the other thing why I like fruit farming, is because those flowers then turn into fruits, Like a passion fruit flower will turn into a passion fruit. And then when you've grown that food yourself too, it's, you got this connection with it, and the flavor, not that I'm all, my enjoyment of a flavor, but still, I'm a little bit there, the flavor of the fruits that you grow yourself are just like, I literally will have that flavor in my mouth for like an hour or two and I'll remember it. Whereas if I buy a lot of fruit and stuff from the store, it's kind of like you put it in your mouth, that's it, it's gone, you know?
Yeah.
Flavor's not often that strong. But there's something about when you've grown your own food, the quality of the soil, you know, you've been careful about the quality of the soil. You've also had a relationship with that plant.
Yeah.
Like I'll go back and eat the grapefruits, and it's just like they tingle in my mouth, and they're, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I do little offerings myself and things like that too, and that obviously enhances the flavor even after you've offered them. But it's just that awe and reverence for the creation, you know. And yeah, my fascination is definitely flowers. For, you know, I like flower essences, flower essence therapy. But yeah, eating fresh fruits is definitely. What's also been interesting has been growing. Sometimes I'm growing subtropical or tropical fruit trees that I've never even eaten, like a chama or a wampi, you know, and you're like, whoa, they're fruiting for the first time, you know. It's kind of like exciting, you know. I really quite like chamas. Have you ever had a grummy? Yeah, it's like it's a smaller fruit, but it's beautiful. I only had one season, and then the next season they didn't fruit, you know, and you're like, oh, a little bit disappointed. And wampis are a little bit like, they're grown in Indonesia, and they're a little bit more like the size of a grape, but they're not grown on a vine like a grape. They're grown on a tree.
Huh.
And yeah, they're an interesting fruit. I quite like wampis, but they've got a flavor that I can't describe. You know, it's just like, how do you describe that? You know. To me, it's like when you got your own garden, like, because I grow my own, you know, herbs, and we grow some of our own vegetables there, but certainly our own fruits. It's kind of like having better than the highest end health food shop you could ever go to, you know?
Yeah.
And you walk outside your door and you pick whatever's in season, and it's like optimal ripeness, because with a lot of fruits, they got to pick them before they're ripe. Yeah. Yeah, so you're getting it at the optimal stage of ripeness. If you, of course, you're then battling with birds and fruit flies and things like that might get you.
Is there always something that's like year round that you can go out and get?
We're at that stage now where we're almost at that. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wow, that's
yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Well, like Suriname cherries are kind of coming in and off. You know, coffee berries. I eat coffee berries, so we grow our own coffee, and the fruit. So around the bean is a fruit. It's quite sweet.
I've had that before.
Yeah, yeah. So they'll come on.
Nice,
yeah, it's actually quite nice, and they're very prolific on a coffee bush. So you just sit there and you're eating them. You know, like you're eating like a small fruit of some sort. You know. And they're all fruit at different seasons. So like in the winter, you're going to get more your citrus. So you're going to get like when we get back there, it's going to be May. So I'm going to be eating like pink grapefruits, mandarins, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Dragon fruits were flowering when we left. I think the jackfruits might be over. Definitely mangoes, lychees, all that kind of stuff are summer fruits. So they'll be over. And then, like I say, sometimes there's just new stuff that we've planted and it's never fruited yet. You know, even like our star apples, 8 or 10 years old. I was growing those in Oahu, and they were fruiting after a few years, but they're taking a lot longer in Australia. We got both star apples and star fruit, which is nice. The star fruit have been actually fruiting. Do you know the difference between a star apple and a star fruit?
Well, I know that's star fruit, but what was the thing that you would go up in the mountain in Hawaii? What were those things called? The red kind of. What were those called?
Oh, like a mountain apple or a
mountain apple?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's different.
It's different completely than a.
So, I know a star fruit, so maybe I don't know what a star apple.
Star apple is a somewhat more tropical fruit, but I used to grow them in Hawaii. They're usually purple, but not always. But they're usually like a purple fruit that looks about the size of a large egg. But in it is a white-fleshed, star-shaped within the circle of the the skin, the egg-shaped thing. There's a white star-shaped fruit that's very nice. Whereas a star fruit, so that's a star apple. A star fruit is actually a star shape. It's like a pentagon, like shaped. It's not like
I've had the star fruit.
Yeah, they're more common. So we grow both.
I don't really like those.
I don't really like them either. Kids like them. My kids like them. You got to get them at the right stage of ripeness too. Otherwise, they're quite stringy.
How are the star apples?
Star apples are amazing, but we've got like 10 star apple trees.
They're really good.
And they haven't fruited. But like I said, I still remember them from Hawaii. They have a beautiful leaf too. They got a bronze-colored leaf on the bottom that's just very pretty. And green, bright green on top. But the fruit is great. But it's one of those fruits that doesn't keep very long. You got to eat it fresh off the tree, so you won't be able to buy it in a shop, you know. Like a lot of fruit is like that sometimes, you know. 1 or 2 days after it's picked, it's not good anymore. I think grummy chamas are like that. I mean, we get things like jaboticabas, which are the fruit that grow on the sides of, on the trunk of a tree, you know, but I'm not a real fan of jaboticabas. They're interesting, but not like...
What were they? Brown sugar? That's sapote?
Sapodillo.
Oh, sapodillo.
So we grow sapodillos, but they haven't fruited yet. I only put them in the ground about 2 years ago.
Cherimoya?
Cherimoya is that a custard apple type of fruit?
Yes, the green.
Brazilian custard apple. Yeah, I've got them.
It's got that kind of like the white kind of like with the
Yeah.
seed inside.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll put a couple of them.
Nice. They make real nice smoothies.
Yeah. I've got sour sops that have fruited.
Those are the big ones.
Yeah, they're the big ones, a bit sour, a bit sweet. Good in smoothies too. Our friend Jason, you know, he loves them. That's his favorite fruit.
It is?
Yeah.
Sour sop?
Yeah. They're not my favorite fruit, but I like them. We have like black and white mulberries, and you know, all sorts of like acerola cherries and.
That was
The mulberries are kind of fun for kids, you know, because you go out and you're picking these little fruits and they love them.
I don't know what they are.
Oh, okay. They're like a as I say, they can be. You can get a black mulberry tree or a white mulberry tree. They're small, like a finger, like kind of like that big, you know, like the tip, like that size, you know, but with all these little kind of circular bits that make up a bigger one. Sweet, you know, very sweet.
Is it a berry?
Yeah, it's a type of berry. Yeah, but it's on a tree,
What's
so it's a berry.
Taste like?
Everything tastes like a.
Yeah,
it tastes like a mulberry.
Yeah, that's pretty much. But it's got a sweet flavor. It's again, it depends on. Like I'll have 8 different trees, and we'll know which ones taste better than the other ones.
Oh, what trees? Taste
What trees taste better? Yeah.
And that's always consistent. Like this is the good tree.
Yeah.
This is the second best tree.
Yeah.
It's always, like,
Yeah.
just like that.
And there's a couple trees where you think, oh, maybe I should chop those ones down. You know.
They don't improve.
Yeah. The other ones, you just like, wow, I can't wait to that one. You know. That's what I mean. You get to know them individually. It's not just a generic thing because they're living things. You know. And like I always feel like sometimes you'll see a tree and it's suffering, you know, like it hasn't had enough water or it's not, you know, and then you go and you water it, you fertilize it, and it's almost like you create this connection with a tree because it is another living being, you know, and the tree brightens up, and you know, and then I sing to my trees sometimes. I'll do some mantra meditation, you know, and the trees can hear it. Like they feel like there's been studies that have been done on trees and plants with sound.
Like when they put music near them.
Yeah,
like
you put punk music or you know what I mean, like certain music. Yeah, the difference between certain they don't like certain music and they like other music, you know. And it's just like so you're fine tuning when you're in a garden. A garden is such a magical place because you're actually you're tuning into another form of life, you know. And you just have to have an attitude of awe and reverence, because you can't really always even understand the nature of the soul in that life force, you know? And it's got it can have a different way of reproducing than we do, like kind of when things bud off of something else, it's like, oh, where's one soul start and where does the other one finish? Like grass is like that.
Wow. Whoa. Oh, wow.
So yeah, when I'm gardening, I'm just thinking about things like that. It's like,
Pretty cool.
yeah, it's kind of like with dragon fruit. They're like a kind of cactus thing, right? And then they have a segment, and you can you can break off that segment and plant it, and a new one will come up. And I'm like,
Nice.
I often think about, oh, was there one soul in the whole plant, and then a new soul? How did this new soul come in, or are there multiple souls within one plant?
Yeah.
I like just spin my mind out on things like that, Just the nature of the life force in a plant, And yeah, it's so weird because some plants have like a really nice energy to them, like mango trees, lychee trees, a lot of fruit trees have a great energy to them. But then sometimes you get these invasive plants that are really like nasty, spiky, horrible little things, and they kind of have like a bad, they almost have a bad vibe to them. And the thing about farming is what I realize, you just become this you're the guy that chooses life and death,
Yeah.
Like, what is a weed, A weed is just a plant you don't want, and you're going to kill it,
Yeah.
So as a sort of a vegetarian into ahimsa and non-killing, it can be quite confronting growing your own food, because you're like, do I let the fruit flies destroy my entire crop, or do I kill them, And then you've got bacterial diseases as well, that like my lychee trees, there's this very tiny mite called the lychee arenose mite, And those things multiply so quickly, and they'll destroy your entire crop. Not just your crop, they'll kill your trees, So I'm like using neem on them and stuff.
Oh, gosh. Can I bring it up for just a second?
Yeah, sure.